Hello and welcome to the Business of Happiness podcast. I'm Dr. Tarryn MacCarthy, and I'm so happy to be here with you this morning because today is going to be a great day. What if you are enough exactly the way you are today? What if right now, who you are, the way you are in this moment, the amount of experience that you have in dentistry, the amount of money you have in the bank, the number of pounds you're carrying on your skeleton, the number of friends you have in your WhatsApp group. What if all of that is enough and you are exactly where you're supposed to be? What if this journey of your life is exactly perfect and the place where you are in this very moment is enough? Imagine for a moment if we could give ourselves that grace. Because if you're anything like me, I would easily wake up in the morning thinking all the things that I haven't done right, that I'm not good enough at, that I'm not far enough along in. And what do those thoughts do? They bring you straight back down into a place of disempowerment. Imagine if the words in their head were the opposite. If they were ones of self-support, self-acceptance. When we could drop the self-judgment and the self-beratement and just support yourself with so much encouragement and, dare I say, love. How would your world be different? You know, every time I think that by pushing myself harder and punishing myself and threatening myself, I will get more in life, it is always painful. It's always torture. It's always difficult. It feels heavy. Every time I threaten myself or I make ultimatums for myself or I tell myself, you're not good enough at this and you got to do better. You should do better. You better do better. Look at the people who are suffering around you. Anytime I threaten myself in that way, I always feel worse about myself. Somewhere we told ourselves that by threatening ourselves, we would have greater motivation, and it's just not the truth. It's just not the truth. And we allow for this with, really young children, but at some point we start threatening them. Isn't that true? I mean, wasn't that true in your lived experience? When you were really little and you were just learning how to walk or you were learning how to eat or learning how to speak, people were encouraging of you. They celebrated you. You said one word that sounded a little bit like mama, and the whole world erupted in applause and excitement and smiling and love and joy. And nowhere along that talking journey did they judge you. Did they say, oh, no, you're not far enough along yet. You need to do better. Take a good look at yourself, sweetheart. You're not speaking clearly and you need to do better. No, all they did was encourage and support and bring in more support and bring in more celebration. And you flourished. You flourished in those first few years of life. Just think about all the new things you learned to do. Think about the motivation you had to get up and move and walk when you couldn't walk. You didn't threaten yourself. Look at all those other babies walking. I gotta get on this. No, but when you took a little baby step without even noticing it, everyone applauded. And that felt good. What would that do for you now? What would it do for you and where you are if you gave yourself permission to be exactly where you are and for you to be enough in this moment? Let's just for a moment take a look at all the systems, all the parts of you that would benefit if we could just flip that conscious mindset of I'm not far enough along yet, or I'm failing at something, or there's something outside of me that I don't have yet. And what if we could just fully feel like you already have everything you need? So let's take a look at all the parts and why I'm trying to really justify here my argument, because I'm telling you, I've seen it to be true. Every single time we choose to see ourselves in that way as whole, which by the way is the truth of who you are, we find deeper motivation for change See, accepting yourself and loving yourself for who you are and for where you are in this moment of time doesn't mean we stagnate. Doesn't mean we don't still grow big empires. Doesn't mean we don't make more money, or we don't make new friends, or we don't learn new skills, or we don't, get better at communication with our loved ones and our team members. It's the opposite. When we support ourselves and see ourselves as whole and enough and worthy, we actually find the motivation to reach for that next thing. We think, oh my gosh, I'm really enough. How good would it feel to really learn how to communicate with my team? I'm enough. I can learn. Let me find a new way to communicate, right? We are able to identify new areas of growth. I wonder what it would feel like to treat my patients with this new technique. I'm enough. What I do is enough. But how great would it be if I learned how to do XYZ and support them even more? It doesn't come from threat. It comes from celebration. It comes from self-acceptance. So let's examine it. What would it do for your body? And, this is so interesting. I was just talking to a friend of mine this weekend who is also a dentist, who is also a coach. And she was recalling an interview that I had done and responding to a response that I had given to the interviewer. And the interviewer was not a dentist. He was just asking and mentioning. And he said to me something to the effect of, oh, but you're really different in that sense. And I stopped him and I said, you know what, I'm going to challenge you there, because actually there are some things about dentists and doctors that are very similar. It doesn't make me different. It makes us all the same. And I think one of those components is we don't realize that our body's in a constant state of fight or flight. The way that we set up our schedule, the way that our education is set up, the way that our self-critiquing is set up, the value we put on self-critiquing sets us up for being in fight or flight every second of the day. The competition, the level of competition, the scarcity, the financial fear sets us up to be in fight or flight every single day. Not to mention team drama and the risk of team members giving their notice and the turnover of your staff and the constant belief that there are not enough patients out there or that you're not doing enough. Can you, as I'm mentioning all these components, which are very real to every single dentist listening to this episode, notice that your body is already preparing itself for battle. Your breathing gets a little shallower. Your heart rate starts to speed up. Your palms maybe get a little sweaty. Every single dentist and doctor is in some level of fight or flight all the time. So let's just start with your body. What does self-acceptance for where you are in this moment of time do for your body? Oh, it introduces safety. And safety is the opposite of fight or flight. See, because when we're in a space of safety, that means there's no tiger coming to chase us. There's no threat of a tornado. Our bodies can do what it needs to do, which is grow. Let's go back to that little baby again. That baby doesn't learn to walk in a place of danger. This is why we see so many developmental milestones not being met when babies are in threatened spaces, when their safety is at risk. The way we find progress and motivation is by creating safety for our nervous system. And if we're constantly in self-judgment and self-beratement, telling ourselves we're not good enough, instantly, your body is in a place of fight or flight. So automatically, we see a very big part of greater growth being in the body. We're so used to being in our own heads. And that's because you're brilliant. Every single one of you. You are listening to this podcast because you are intellectual, you are smart, you are capable. And we tell ourselves when we're in that space, I can figure it out intellectually. And I'm telling you, a very big part of it is your body. Giving your nervous system a sense of safety and calm. Because if every day you wake up and you tell yourself, I'm not thin enough, I'm not disciplined enough, I'm not fit enough, I'm not successful enough, I'm not happy enough, your body immediately goes into fight or flight. And what happens? We stop that beautiful developmental superpower, safety. You start excreting the hormones of stress. And then we start wondering, why am I so exhausted? Why don't I have the motivation? Why can't I stick to a plan? Why am I not feeling fulfilled and happy? Why can't I approach my office manager when I need to have a serious conversation with her? Why is it so difficult for me to relax? So simply by using the words, I am enough, every single day, literally incanting it to your body, you start to make it familiar, because the first time you say it, it's going to feel wildly unfamiliar. Your whole body might go into fight or flight because it might even trigger you or cause an activation in you where it says fighting you with evidence of where you're not enough. So I'm going to offer you this really simple technique. We've talked about this on the podcast, but I'm going to reintroduce it in this frame. It's a part of tapping. Emotional freedom tapping. It's a beautiful practice that I share so often in Radical Happiness, in many of my programs. I'm going to share it with you now. And all it is this one form of it today is we're going to tap with both of our hands on a spot just below your collarbone. So I'm using my fingers. For those of you watching me on YouTube, you can see, but those of you listening to this podcast, I'm using the tips of my fingers, pointer finger, middle finger, and ring finger, and literally tapping on the space on my chest just below my collarbone. If you're driving, you can use an open hand with one hand on your chest. You can hear me. And if you hear me doing this, you're hearing thump, 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 thump. That's about the speed at which you're going to start tapping. And you can tell yourself, I am enough. As you're tapping, I am exactly where I need to be. I am enough. And what you're doing is you're giving your body safety. And then you can even start to slow the tapping down. I am safe. It is safe to believe that I am enough. I am exactly where I need to be. And bring your breathing rate down. And we do that by taking a deep breath in through your nose and slowing down the exhale. What you're doing is you're actually tapping into parasympathetic nervous system calm. You're using activation of your vagus nerve, which innervates the bottom of your lungs, and we're using our breath to calm our bodies down. And when you calm your body down, it can become receptive to the words that you're feeding it. So we're doing actually multiple things in this very simple practice. We're making being enough familiar, because let's face it, for decades you've been telling yourself the opposite, that you're not, right? Imagine this, 3 days away from work, 3 days away from your regular life, from your family, from the day-to-day hustle and bustle, to just rest and reconnect with you. Here's the truth. Nobody knows you like you do. Nobody knows the joys and the sorrows and the fears and the frustrations and the stresses and the overwhelm and the exhaustion and your patience and your team and your family. Nobody knows what you're going through better than you. Nobody knows what brings you joy and fuels you and fulfills you. Nobody knows your dreams and desires like you do. And the secret to how to access the beautiful wisdom inside of you, the guru inside of you, waits for you at the Empower Her retreat. This incredible retreat happening this October 17th through 20th is an opportunity for you to fall back in love with yourself, to identify your directional compass, and to lean into trust, self-trust, the trust of that inner wisdom. www.empowerherretreat.org. Join us there. Sign up. There are only a few spots left. This is your opportunity to change the direction of your life. So let that also be a little bit of awareness, by the way. If this feels wildly uncomfortable, let it be, because maybe you've never done this before. And that makes so much sense. Anytime you do something brand new, it feels so uncomfortable. The first time you gave an inferior alveolar nerve block, your hand was shaking. It was new. Now it's like so easy. It's second nature. You don't even think about it. We're learning a new technique. Imagine you can get to that place where telling yourself that you're enough and letting your body feel the calmness of that is second nature, as easy as giving an inferior alveolar nerve block. All my orthos out there, I see you. I know. An inferior alveolar nerve block right now would terrify me because I haven't given one in many, many, many years. However, let's say placing a bracket, okay? The point remains the same. Let this be new and give yourself permission to be on the journey of making this new for you. Let me tell you another reason why this is so important. Your mind. We talked about the importance of your body. Now we're going to talk about your mind. Speaking the words, I am enough, I'm exactly where I need to be, gives your mind the evidence that it's true. Because that is what our minds and our brains are developed to do. We're constantly looking for pattern recognition. So the moment you start feeding yourself that idea, I am enough, I am exactly where I need to be, you're going to start noticing examples in your life because your mind is going to start looking for them. That is how your mind works. The moment we give it a piece of information, it starts to look for evidence of it. The same thing goes, by the way, when you tell yourself I'm not enough. So when you're waking up in the morning and you're giving your mind the directive, I am not enough, whatever that flavor is for you. I'm a terrible mom, I'm a terrible dentist, I'm a terrible leader, I'm a terrible athlete, I'm a terrible lover, whatever it is. The moment you have that thought, even if you're not speaking it with your mouth, your mind goes into action and says, I'm going to start finding all the examples in her world where that I can prove that for her. I'm going into pattern recognition mode. So we're just going to use this knowledge of how your mind works to your benefit. See, guys, I told you this is going to be a great day because you're learning something so powerful. You haven't even started the day, truly, and already you're getting this great information. What a great day. That's exactly why I use that statement. Today's going to be a great day because when I put that directive in my mind starts looking for evidence of it. So we're going to do the same thing with I am enough. I am enough, and I am exactly where I need to be in this moment. Isn't that beautiful? And if you look back over your life for a moment, if you just look back for the last 5-10 years, I want you to just see how far you came. Can you see that at every point along the last 10 or 5-year journey, you were so prepared? You were so capable of managing every challenge that came your way. Everything that you have overcome. Look at how far you've come. Look at that. You have always been enough. Every hardship and challenge that has come your way, you have stood up for and you have survived. You have managed in your own beautiful way. It was all meant to be. Isn't that so spectacular? See that you were exactly where you needed to be and who you needed to be in that moment. That the lessons were such perfect timing and that you couldn't have known that new lesson or received that new lesson unless you had experienced the experience before that. You were enough all along. So we give our minds the evidence that it needs. And now I'm going to tell you the third component, giving your soul peace. Here's the truth. You came into this world enough. When you were a baby, you didn't question it. You didn't think, I'm a chubby baby and look at all those skinny babies over there. I'm not thin enough. You didn't think, oh my gosh, I'm 6 months old and I'm not yet doing the things that other kids are doing. Somewhere along the way, you learned that you had to do more. You started to compare yourself to others. Someone told you that you weren't good enough and you believed it. But that was a lie. It was a lie told to you by somebody who also didn't believe she was enough or he was enough. And telling you that you weren't enough was an attempt to feel a little bit better, a little more whole. But the truth was, she was enough too. And you know, this quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Yeah, somewhere along the way, you consented. You consented to feeling inferior. We all did. We all did. And the beautiful thing about that is that no one can make you feel anything without your consent. So we get to choose anew. So just like you consented to feeling inferior, you can practice and learn how to feel enough, to consent to feel enough, because that is the truth of who you are. You are enough. And it's up to you, because you are that powerful. It's up to you to take back the truth of who you are. And as I mentioned, it can feel so far away because we might have been practicing the opposite for decades. It has become very well practiced to think and believe that you're not enough. But in that practicing not enoughness, it has become real. And knowing that is the superpower, because we can start practicing enoughness. It starts small, but it is real. So I invite you in this week to think of your enoughness in these 3 parts: your mind, your body, and your soul. Your body requires the safety. Your nervous system requires the safety. And that's how we access that, by actively lowering our blood pressure, lowering our heart rate, slowing down our breathing, tapping and reminding my body, I am safe in this moment. I am safe. It is safe to believe I am whole. It is safe to believe I am enough exactly where I am. Your mind requires the evidence. So let's find it. Gift your mind the directive, I want to see all the evidence of where I am enough. And then be open to it as the week goes on. Hear the words of your patients who say, oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you for everything you've done for me. Allow that to be received. Don't worry, your mind will start showing that to you. Every patient, you're gonna think it's magic. You're gonna think it's crazy when you realize halfway through the week, oh my gosh, everyone's telling me I'm great. Yep, be ready for it. Hear it when your team members say, whew, Dr. MacCarthy, I am so grateful to be working with you. Hear it from your family when you get that text again from your sister that says, I love you. I just want you to know. Let your mind look for the evidence of you being enough. When you hear someone tell you on the street, I love your outfit, you look beautiful, receive it. And then remember the 3rd component, your soul. Your soul requires love. And that is how we remind our souls of our enoughness. Love. Because love is the only truth. It is the highest frequency vibration that we can possibly reach for. It is the ultimate. So anytime you're feeling not enough, and you've tried calming and giving safety to your body, and you've tried reminding yourself with words intellectually and giving your mind a directive to look for all the evidence of it in your past and in your present and from the world around you, that's when we get to go back into our souls and pour so much love. You get to be the person who gives and receives love. I love you, Tarryn. I know it's hard to believe that you're enough, but I love you for who you are. On any one day when you realize that voice in your head saying you're not enough, when you recognize that thought, it doesn't matter in what context, be it in dentistry, in leadership, in the way you live your life, in your body, in your friendships, in your finances, you get to ask yourself, what part of me needs the support? Is it my body? My body in fight or flight again? Which makes so much sense because I just saw 10 patients in 2 hours and answered 45 emails and, found some Google reviews that weren't stellar. Of course that makes sense that my body's in fight or flight. Okay, body, you are enough. You are safe. You're exactly where you need to be. Can I calm my body and remind myself that I am safe? That there is no urgency, that there is no danger? Or is it my mind? Have I been thinking and speaking the words that are the opposite of what is the truth, that I am enough? Can I look in the mirror and tell myself, Tarryn, you are enough, and I love you? Or is it your soul? Is this your soul that needs to be reminded of the truth? And trust me, your soul knows the truth, that you are whole. And sometimes all it takes is a moment to just close your eyes and drop into your heart. If your soul feels difficult to connect to, I want you to imagine your heart. Just imagine going into your heart and remembering who you are and pouring so much love on that beautiful person who is doing great things. You are enough. You are whole. You're exactly where you need to be. And this component of self-trust is the seed of enormous success and happiness. And for those of you who are listening to this beautiful episode and thinking, you know what? This sounds so good. Hell yes, I believe every part of this, but I need a little bit more support. I have 2 more spots in the Empower Her retreat happening October 17, 18, 19, and then we leave on the 20th in South Carolina, in Isle of Palms. 2 more women, and that spot is for you because this is exactly the skill that I'm going to be teaching you. Self-trust. Remembering who you are and the power that you have in you. And when you leave the retreat, you will have all the practices and support that you need to bring back into your life. And this is the beauty of a retreat is you step outside of your everyday. You change something, transform something in you in a space that's safe and beautiful and feels good. We're going to be addressing all the components, your body, your mind, and your soul. And making a shift that is sustainable. It's not a gimmick. It's not a strategy. You've tried those. This is holistic self-trust. www.empowerherretreat.org. That's it. Empower her. Remember the R of her and then the retreat. So there's 2 R's in there. Empowerherretreat.org. Let's get you there. I'm here for you. And here's the truth. You are enough. And please remember, when you feel good, that is when you can do good. Bye-bye. Hey, beauty, if you enjoyed this episode, then like and subscribe to the show and receive this beautiful message of empowerment, remembering what you are capable of and the purpose you serve in this world every single week. And if you know of a colleague who needs this message, share this episode with her. This is how we raise the collective in healthcare, reminding one another and supporting one another. Community is the answer. This is how we grow it. And lastly, I invite you to a phenomenal in-person event this October 2024, the Empower Her Retreat, exclusively for women in medicine and dentistry, on the beach. It will change your life. And I cannot wait to see you there. Check out the details in the show notes and have a phenomenal day remembering that you are enough.